Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. We're going to do something a little different. I decided to make my own ink storage container and I wanted to share it with you. So I have my cutter here and I am cutting down 21 pieces at 4.5 by 12 inches. So for a 12 by 12 chipboard piece, you're gonna get at least 2 from each sheet. So you want at least for the outsides, the top, bottom, and the 2 sides, you're gonna need to cut 8 pieces. Okay, and then what you're gonna do here is you're gonna basically take 2 of the chipboard pieces and attach them together. So I'm just taking off the score tape that I just put down, and then I'm also using some wet glue. This is Quick Dry by Scotch, and I'm putting them together because what I want to do is, especially for the sides and everything it's going to be holding this all together, I want them to be extra strong, so I'm doubling up on the chipboard pieces. So that's what I'm doing right here. And I'm using 1/2 inch score tape. Use whatever, like the biggest that you have, that way, you know, it doesn't take as much to cover up what you need. And if you have trouble picking any of the score tape up, just make sure you varnish it. If you varnish it, it'll be easier to lift up. But I just use my nails, so. And then if a piece gives me trouble, I try and rub it down some and then try again. Alright, and we're going to put these 2 together. And normally, if I had the chipboard in black, I wouldn't be doing this next part. But I wanted to show you, if you wanted to create a nice finished edge, have it look pretty neat, then what you would do here is cut 2-inch strips of black cardstock. And I did up a whole bunch just so that way, you know, I could get a lot of this done, because what we're doing is on the front edge of the side and the top and bottom piece, we're going to have the part that's sticking out covered in these black strips. So after we cut out a bunch of those, we're going to go ahead and do our scoring. And what you're going to want to do is either you're going to score your first score mark at 1 inch, and then you're going to either score your second one at 3/8 of an inch or at 5/8 of an inch. All you want is an 1/8 inch gusset, so that way it lays even and flat on your double chipboard pieces. On the shelves that we're going to do, you're going to just leave those at the 1 inch. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach these. Okay, so we have our top, bottom, and our strips. Okay, and what we did there is we're going to attach score tape on the back side of the 12 by 12 back covering of our chipboard piece. And then we're going to put score tape on each end of 2 of the strips. Okay, so it's close to the edge that you can get it. And then on the piece that we're attaching, we also have score tape on the side that doesn't have the black tape. Okay, and I found the easiest way was to attach the first half to the 12 by 12, you know, the backing. I attached that there, and I'm just trying to make sure that I was in frame for you guys. It's really hard because trying to show you and get everything lined up, it just was not working for me. Okay, so once I got that attached, then that gives us the top and the bottom. Okay, and then what I did here was I put tape on either side, so that way we could put one of the strips on the inside, just to give it a little bit more strength, you know, because a lot of these ink pads, they're going to wind up being heavy, and you want it to be able to hold the weight. And then what we're going to do is, I have it upside down right now. We're putting the bottom piece on because we want to put the bottom on before we go to the next part, which is the inside for the shelves. Okay, so what I did was I took three of the 4.5 by 12 sheets. I measured in a 1 inch, and drew a line. And then out from the lines, I went down every, you might want to say like every inch, and I drew a line, and then right next to it, I drew a 1/8 line. So I made us 2 lines to create, well, basically what I'm going to do is cut out so that way our shelves slide in between. I know that was really a lot to say, but basically what I did is I just went down, I would make my 2 marks so I would know where my 2 lines were, and then, you know, draw them in with the Tim Holtz ruler, which I highly suggest you get a clear ruler. If it's not the Tim Holtz one, then you need to get some kind of clear ruler. It is a lifesaver as far as lining things up and making sure you're getting things straight and even. And all I'm doing here is just with my pencil going through and drawing the 2 lines, so that way I know where to cut out. And the cut and out part, I am going to zoom in close up on that for you as we go to, you know, cut everything out. But I just want you to know that if you have an X-Acto and that'll work for you, then by all means use it. Mine was a little dull and I wanted to get through it quick, so I wound up using my Tim Holtz scissors. But just to show you up close the piece that we want to have removed, so that way we can create our, you know, individual wedges, you know, for the shelves to go in, which I'm going to show you better on in a second here, because I'm going to give up and, like I told you, get the scissors because it wasn't working for me on camera. Alright, so here I am. I have most of it done, and this is how it's going to go into the actual storage unit. And I kept one so I could show you what I meant by using my scissors. So I just cut up to the line on both of the ones that I drew in, and then right at that small spot I took my X-Acto and I cut it because it was sharp enough to at least get that little piece out, but it was giving me a hard time on the other parts. And I think it's because I've already made one of these, so by the time we got to this one, it had kind of pooped out. And then we're going to attach these in the middle here. And we're going to do that by using more of those black sheets at the, 12-inch length, cut by 12, 2-inch by 12, scored at 1, okay? And then what I was measuring there is, because we come in an inch and the chipboard isn't going all the way back, I had to figure out the size for our new shelves. So what I did was, I originally said it was 11 3/4 by by 4.5. But that is actually wrong because remember, we've come in on our shelf pieces an inch. So the best fit for it was 3 3/8 by 11 3/4. And you're going to need at least 11, I believe it's 11 shelves. Okay, so once you cut your shelves down and you're ready to get the, I guess we'll call these the actual shelf pegs maybe, everything, all that done, then we're going to attach our black strips to those, because like I told you, this is how we're going to attach it inside the box, so that way they're, in securely. Alright, and then that's how it will lay down in the actual box itself. And then this is just showing you the shelves and how we got those done, which was, you know, once I got them cut down, fold it in half, and then anything that hangs off, because remember we had it by 2 inches by 12, you just cut that little bit off. And then I just wanted to show you real quick like how it would work. So then you have the shelves, and they would go in like that. Of course they'll be even differently, but that's how it'll work. So what I did was, as best I could, because with the side pieces on you really can't get your full 12-inch, I tried to figure out how and where I wanted to put my different ink pads. So I measured out a line, and then what I'm going to do is take the edge, you know, the shelving strips that we created, and I'm going to line it up as best to those lines that I created, and then lay it down. And what I wanted to do was make sure that where I was placing it, it was giving me enough room for the size stamps that we wanted to put down. And I was slightly off, so I just moved it just a little bit so that way it would fit. And then we're going to put down our next one, because the first one I did was mostly all the same size stamps. With this second one, I did have a few Stampin' Up! Ink pads that I got, and so I wanted to make sure there was a section for those to fit. Thank goodness it was only about, what, 9 of them that I had to get in there, so that left plenty of room in the other spots for my other ink pads. And once again, I'm just laying it in and trying to make sure that everything is, you know, laying properly. Now, once I got it in, you can see I'm laying all of them in, trying to figure out, make sure I got enough room and space for all the different pieces. And I purposely didn't put the top piece on until I knew for sure that everything was laying and was going to be perfect. Okay, so right now with the top piece, what I did, don't do what I did. I put tape on the top part of it and the bottom, and you don't need it on the bottom because you're not going to be able to put any of that strip, black strip, underneath, because your box is already really put together and you don't really need it at this point. So don't worry about underneath, just the tape around the 3 edges, the 2 sides and the back, and that's where you're going to be attaching more of the black strips, because the top piece is probably one of the only ones that has it on all 4 because you have your front edge, and then, you know, it's also going to be how you connect it to the rest of the box. So what we're going to do here is bring the box over. And you know, you may think I'm using too much as far as the tape, but I don't think you can have enough, because you don't want this to fall apart on you, and the idea is that you want it to last and be sturdy. So I did put the score tape on all 3 sides. And how I decided to put it on top is I kind of held it in on the both sides, trying to make sure that, you know, everything was lined up and even, and then I pressed down the right side, and then once that side was down, well, I went to the left side, making sure it was even there, and then around the back, and then you have your completed box. And right there I just put in my last shelf. Now there is one thing I want to note for you. I'm showing you the different papers that we have here that I want to use for my outside, and as we look at those papers, the shelves, the gray pieces where the shelves are sitting on top of, I did not glue those down, because if I change ink pads or I put an ink pad in a different spot, I wanted those to be able to move so I could take my inks in and out. Okay, so what I did is, like I said, I left them movable. If you want to secure them down, you can just, you know, maybe put a little bit of glue and they wouldn't move around for you. Now, for these pages that I'm cutting up right here, I'm just cutting them at 4.5. I am going to have to cut them down more later, but I just wanted to make sure that I got as much as the picture as I needed, and then once I figured out how it was going to fit on the actual box, I cut down just a little bit more depending on what side or edge I was putting it on. Now, once you put your shelves in, if you do find that they're buckling on the ends, you can put little pieces on the inside, on the very inside, to keep the shelves from falling down. It's a step that I didn't show you in this particular video because mine weren't bowing. Okay, so I guess it just depends on your ink pads and what you're putting in, if you need those extra supports. Now, to the back. We're loading up with the score tape, so that way our back paper will stay and be pretty. Once we lay it down, we're going to take the covering off. And then on the actual pattern paper itself, I just went around the outside edges. I figured doing the tape on the box would be enough as far as the inside. And then I'm just going to lay that full sheet down. And you could always do your edges if you wanted to. I didn't on this one. I left the edges alone, and I was okay with that. We're gonna do the kind of the same thing with the top and the side. And then this is the completed project. So you can see all the ink pads are inside. And I put them all in upside down because they have the little bit of edges that I can get my nails in there and slip them out pretty easily. And the only thing that was left to do was to actually label each ink pad, which I'm showing you here. Alright, well, I thank you guys for joining me today. I hope this was helpful to you, and I will see you with our next video.